All right, now we can start talking and spitting game. So this is essentially just a introduction workshop on getting Alvin, an intro on what we're doing. So what I'm aiming for on a global level is actually to create a guild.
Yeah.
And so what a guild is essentially in a lean startup is a group of people who are interested in a certain subject. We had started years ago on photography guilds, and that's how content became an entire chapter. So it was just people on the team who wanted to do photography. I was interested in it, Buddy was interested in it, so we got together, got a guild. As a guild evolves, it will start turning into a chapter, and then it just becomes a real team. So think of it as this. Think of it as a good way to develop your career. If you want to have a career in digital marketing, then this is the beginning of forming your own division. Okay, so one of my OKRs this month is to actually create 2 new guilds, one for HR and one for digital marketing. And part of it is creating some structure around how we are going to meet and creating things that really matter. So what I'd like to have is structure, agenda, and recordings. For a case like today, where Diva is not present, at least we recorded it, so later on we can say, okay, Diva, just watch it. And then I can test if she watched it or not by asking her questions later. All right, so let's go into each of these supporting documents. So the first thing I think we need to have is we need to have an agenda. What this document shows when it loads up is essentially, this has been our journal. This has been a journal that we've had for doing search engine optimization on the keywords property, quality property management, right? But we might pivot now because the scope is getting bigger and it's getting more developed. So let me bring you through some of the history here so you see what we were doing. A few weeks ago, back in February, we contracted a freelancer on freelancer.com to help us get keyword rankings for these terms, right? Like quality property management services, quality property management, property manager quality. And these were the current ranking when he started on week 1 here. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're 13 on that, 21 on that, 21 on quality property management. Okay, and then let me see if I can blow this up. Okay, all right, great. So we were 13 on property management services and quality, 21 on Bali property management, and 13 on property manager quality. He built a total of 50 backlinks targeting this specific URL. And let's take a look at that. And the freelancer would every week send us backlinks on where he had made these links. DA stands for Domain Authority. It tells us how powerful this website is in terms of how valuable a referral from that website can be. So a domain of 90 is 10 times better than a domain of 80. A domain of 65, a domain of 90 is 1,000 times better than a domain of 65. So it's a 10 scale, right? It's an exponential scale, logarithmic. And they've targeted different pages or different keywords and such. So the freelancer went about, and I tracked his progress. He would send a report, and I would take a look at the report, and I'd put it on this paper document. And he went back and forward, so we started 13, 21, and 13. And then at the end, towards the end in March, it became 17, 15, and 10. So that was slightly worse on certain words, slightly much better on certain other words, and slightly better on some other words too as well. So we also kept track of this. This is a behavior flow diagram. This shows where traffic is going and how it's reaching our website. So these are people reaching our website directly, landing on the homepage, bukitvista.com. These are people going directly to the job page. These are people directly landing on the blog pages. These are people landing directly on the Manage My Property page, which is the page that hopefully will help our market development team find new properties. These are people who are directly approaching About Us and such and such. And so why do I look at this particular graph?
So you want to show about what they not concern, but what they want to look in our websites.
Yes, sir.
From what I see, it's like this is the progress from them. Like we start opening from the main page, then they open it to About Us, and then
correct.
Us. You show the job. I think it's from the one
JobStreet.
Yeah. Yes, that's connected directly to JobStreet.
Yes, sir. Okay, so very good. So we're looking at essentially how people hit the flow of our page and how they flow across the site. Moreover, I'm also looking at this. I'm looking at how many people are landing on Manage My Property. Because the more people that land on that page, the more effective my search engine optimization has been. Effectively, those are people who are coming because of either organic search or whatever. So that's how I track objectively, because otherwise I just have to believe this freelancer that they're doing the right job. They could say we're 10, but the world of SEO is also very gray in the sense that each different tool seems to have a different way of measuring success. So if I go to one website, I look for ranking on my property, it could be 10. I go to a different website, and for the same keywords, it could be 15 or 20. So it is a little bit gray. I generally look at success this way. I look at like, okay, if I get more people arriving to manage my property, I would assume that whatever the SEO person done is successful. And that is important because that's our main metric of success. I want growth on the number of people who directly approach manage my property over time. And as long as that is growing, then we should be doing great. As we see that there is some progression, 39 visits from Manage My Property. Originally, when we first started, it was, let's see, in February, in February it was 18, and by March it had gone up to 39. So it seems like there has been double the amount of growth.
Is it weekly or overall?
Very good. So this is usually, I do not know. Good question that you asked. Let's take a look. So the question is it weekly or overall? Let's take a look at the Google Analytics and see what span of time it covers. So this is our all-knowing, all-seeing dashboard, which is awesome. And we can see basically how people engage with our website here. Okay, so just to go into a quick overview, this shows our users in the past 7 days. We don't actually generate revenue on the website at this point, and we don't actually measure conversion rate. These are things we should probably do better. There were 739 sessions by 556 users. So that means about 1.5 pages per user that open. We can see kind of like what the daily traffic is, broken down into different shades of blue. What do you think each shade of blue represents, Alvin? Yes, very good. All right. So it represents organic search, direct, referral, social, or other. So obviously we want, let's say after we've done SEO, we would like to see a higher proportion of organic search lands. That would mean that SEO has been doing its job. And I can't really estimate, it looks about the same. This looks like about 50% are organic. And now it looks like actually less than 50% are organic. So it doesn't, it's a little bit hard to tell. This tells a timetable of when people are arriving at the site the most. Tuesday, 1 p.m. is our happy hour. Seems like when most people actually come here. And then, of course, around 1 a.m., 2 a.m., those correspondingly drop. 62% of our audience is coming from Indonesia, the other 7% from Australia, 5.8% from U.S., and lower and lower. Okay, so let's go and find what Alvin was looking for. He was looking for behavior and behavior flow, and looking at the time span of that particular information. Okay, and I don't know, Alvin. Okay, what I can do is maybe I'll change this. I'll change this to. I actually am not sure. Social. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I can't tell you, but 730 sessions.
Yeah, it's meant every session that we got from.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
okay.
overall.
Okay, it's overall, and it's in. Let's go back up. Okay, 730 sessions. Very good. Good connection there. Back up to this number. It's pretty close to this number here. So this number is in the last 7 days. All right. So that's your answer, sir. So this is behavior that we've seen in a weekly setting. Okay, so let's zoom out again so that we can kind of see all the different things. What do you think this red stuff is?
After they open this one, they just go out or open on the website.
Exactly. So we want to have people who actually stay on our website. We want to reduce as much red as possible. So, for example, these are people who probably, let's take a look at this, right? These are people who, this is interesting, arrived on the job page. And these are probably the candidates that you want to hire, the ones that are over here, right? These are people who maybe didn't read very much about us. So, surprisingly, some people actually went and wanted to look at how they could have their property managed after arriving on the job site. So that's pretty interesting. A lot of people went on the About Us page, which is good, and the rest went on all these other different pages. 7 people sought for more details on business development, A lot of people looked at our homes. Some people looked at co-working. So that's pretty interesting. So that's a good study of how traffic flows through the website. Okay, great. So let's bring it back up to the main document here. So the Guild Journal. So this is how the journal began. We began by recording results from each time that we were trying to rank for a keyword. We then used this to find, we used a tool to find all the highest ranking keywords for businesses in our field. So these are the terms that we want to rank for in the future, right? So these are SEO goals, SEO project keywords. So if we've ranked for all these keywords, then we will win essentially the search engine optimization game in Bali for people who are looking for villa management. Okay, so this is a project. So we tried doing this. I'll show you what the origin of the project was. So I went online and I started looking for Airbnb Bali, and I found there's a few article writers here. Of course, the first terms are of course from Airbnb, but then I found this article on Trip Canvas, there's this article on AirDNA, and there's this article from Journalists is on the Run. So what is actually pretty efficient on search engine optimization is this is a person who succeeded already. This is a person who knows how it should be done and know how it can be done. That's our problem, Okay, so why is that good? Because I can then approach that person and ask them, will you write an article for us, and do you want to collaborate with Bukit Vista? And so I sent out emails to the authors of those articles, and one of them, Adira, right here, Adira, I wrote to her, I found her article, and I'm looking to improve my SEO and PR, and I want to chat her about possible employment or collaboration. And she wrote back. She actually needs a job. She's in Jakarta right now, so that was pretty interesting. The other person I wrote out to, Charity, I tweeted her because that's the only contact I could find, and she wrote back to my tweet, and she gave me. These both were freelance writers, so I realized writers never. A lot of writers don't write for a career. They write when they're called upon. And so they have like relatively short attention spans. Both Charity and Adira wrote back to me, and Charity gave me the contact of her supervisor, and I wrote to the supervisor, and I don't think they got back to me yet on that one. Yeah, her supervisor when she was working at the blog that she was working at, Charity D'Souza. I forgot whether it was this site or another site, but oops, okay, that's not it. Let me see if I can find Charity's blog post on it. It was up here. Oh, I think it was this one. Oh no, this is Adira. Oh, that's us. We're on. Yeah, that was her. So Charity, I wrote to her here. She had a great 6,500 engagements on social media, which is incredible. And it was updated last in May of last year. She, I think, let me see if I can find her follow-up and see where we are on that one. So I'll open Gmail real quick. And while I wait for that to happen, so I spoke to her. She wasn't working at the blog anymore, so she referred me up to her chain of command, to her okay, let's see what she wrote back. It's about time I should follow up on her. Okay, so Charity. Okay, all right, that's that. I wrote to her here. Maybe I'm just imagining things. Maybe she didn't actually write back to me. Maybe it was a different person. Okay. Yeah, I don't have a write back from her, so it could just be my imagination, but I think there was another person who did write back. Okay. All right, but I wrote it down, I journaled it so that I remember if this was a successful pathway or not. Because a lot of what we're doing is we're exploring through the very, very tree-like and kind of huge world of digital marketing, and we need to leave a cookie crumb trail for us to follow ourselves back. Otherwise, it becomes pretty difficult. Okay, this is on March 18th. So we were looking for an opportunity to actually improve ourselves for job search. So we went a little bit off topic. We then went to job search. And so was there a way where we could actually be more relevant on job search in Bali? So we found out actually this was pretty interesting. Most of people look for jobs on these sites, right? Yeah. Indeed, JobStreet, OLX, Loka. So then that was valuable for us because we thought, all right, there's no point at all to try to get ranked for that word. Yeah, because everybody is already advanced, they're already using platforms. But this is also really good for us because these are all the platforms that we should advertise on. Exactly, to find people who are looking for work. So that was actually how we used SEO to actually find a way to improve our hiring process. Okay, let's see. Alvin, do you know what this is? Okay, all right. So this is a backlink report. And what a backlink, do you know what a backlink is? Okay, so the internet kind of works like this, right? Let me see if I can find a good backlink, infographic, right? Whenever you don't know something, just look for an infographic for that. So basically the internet is a gigantic popularity contest, and what you want as, let's say, a top-ranked website is you need backlinks. So essentially backlink is a website, is a link. Let me see if there's a good illustration of a backlink. Okay, here's an example of a backlink, right? Let's say, for example, you have a website saying how to run a marathon, and then you have another website that has a link to your website. That's a backlink, right? So, other words, if there is website, let's say we're website B, bukitvista.com, and we get a link from CNN.com, right? Then that's great, because CNN.com is a huge website, and they've essentially voted for us. They've given us a link sharing that we're awesome. So part of what we're trying to do in SEO is try to get the most backlinks, right? That is what you could say is part of the equation. But it's a little bit more complex than that, because it's not just it's not just actually backlinks. It's also the quality of your backlinks. Not all backlinks are the same. So let's talk more about that here. So why are not all backlinks the same? Because every backlink comes from a website. And every website, like keyword suggestion, DR means it's domain ranking, such as what we had just spoken about earlier. Right. So a domain ranking of, let's say, 40 is generally 100 times better than a domain ranking of 20. It's 1,000 times better than a domain ranking of 11. So what you're looking for is actually, you're looking for high domain ranking or high domain authority websites. Getting a website from I don't know shit.com written by who knows who is not as valuable as getting a backlink from, let's say, a huge magazine or a huge publication. The second part is the UR, also known as the PA in some vocabularies. Do you know what that means? Okay, so there's two parts. There's domain authority, and then there's page authority, right? Let's say, for example, on CNN.com, you get a page written about villas in Bali, and then you get a backlink on that page. Then great. You have a page authority that's very, very relevant to the topic of Bali villa rentals, and you have a domain that's super important like CNN.com. But let's say on CNN.com, you get a page that is pointing to like the war in Afghanistan or something, and just by some random way you accidentally got a backlink to Bukit Vista there. So then your domain authority is huge, right? You're coming from CNN.com, but your page authority is super weak because it's on a topic that has no relevance to what's connected to. Exactly, right? So it's like you're going to, let's say, the best university, but you're studying a subject that nobody cares about, right? So that would be the equivalent of like a low page authority or here URL relevancy. So ideally, we're looking for big numbers on both sides. We're looking for something with a big number here and a big number on the second part, and that's a backlink that we want. So what Diva has done here is that she's done a scan on this property, ubudproperty.com. She's discovered that on that property, it has a domain rating of 10, which is relatively low. It has 70 backlinks, and it has 29 referring domains. Okay, so that's kind of like the breakdown. Now, Alvin, why are we studying the backlinks on ubudproperty.com?
You want to expand to Ubud?
Yes, we want to expand to Ubud.